the Razor Service series, where today we will be reviewing the cutter kit. This kit contains an axial cutter, cutter bolt, shims, and for the ZOGP model, a serrated suction cover. Now before we get started, let's review the tools you will need. A 3/16 inch Allen wrench, a small flathead screwdriver, a rubber mallet, a feeler gauge, and red Loctite number 263. First, we will remove the cutting mechanism. With the pump on its side, insert the screwdriver into a slot on the suction cover to stop the rotation. Now you can use the Allen wrench to remove the cutter bolt. If you cannot break away the cutter bolt, a torch may be required to crystallize the Loctite. But make sure to use caution when handling the heated components. Once the bolt is removed, the cutter and shims can then be removed. If you have a ZSGV or ZOGV, this step will not apply to you. However, with the ZOGP, you can now remove the suction cover by removing the 3 bolts with your Allen wrench. If the suction cover is stuck on the volute, gently tap it with a mallet. The rotation will allow the clearance, so you're able to wedge it off with the flathead screwdriver. Set aside the O-ring to be used when you reassemble the pump. To install the suction cover on the ZOGP models, place the O-ring on the back side of the suction cover. You will want to align the highlight point with the bolt closest to the pump discharge as shown. The suction cover can be placed back over the second stage impeller and use 3 bolts to fasten to the volute. Make sure to tighten all bolts to 79 inch per pound. Now, before we are ready to install the cutter, we must determine the appropriate number of shims to achieve proper clearance. Stack the shims on the back side of the cutter. Line up the channel of the new cutter with the keyway on the drive shaft and secure it with a cutter bolt. Please note that verifying the cutter clearance and shim stack may take multiple tries. Use a feeler gauge to check the space between the cutter and the cutter plate. A 1/100th inch gauge should not fit. If the space is too large, remove a shim and recheck.
If the cutter rubs, add a shim and recheck again.
After verifying the cutter clearance and shim stack, remove the cutter bolt, cutter, and shims, keeping them together. You now must apply Loctite to 3 points. Spread in the threads of the shaft, on the first 3 threads of the cutter bolt, and on the outer diameter of the cutter. Reinstall the cutter and shims on the shaft and secure the bolt, tightening to 79 inch per pound. Thanks for tuning in to the Razor Service series on our cutter kit. If you need any extra help, just reach out to our support team. Happy grinding!